Yeah.
And we're a curious generation, so I kind of have hope for the generation.
Yes,
and
yes,
we ask
yes,
so
yes.
many questions. We're confused too, but at the same time, we ask. We try to figure it out. And so, yeah, it's a mixture of both loving everyone, loving God, but also living up to the essentials of doctrine. That is clear. Sin City Reset is the name of the conference, okay? It's going to be a 2-day conference happening in January 17th and 18th. And it's a conference for young adults, but specifically for Las Vegas. You could go and experience the power of God in a city where it doesn't make sense.
Come on. Do you think anything is possible inside of Sin City, Las Vegas? I believe what God is doing is that he's bringing people together under the spirit of unity to display that anything and everything is possible through him. This is Las Vegas United. Well, hello and welcome to Las Vegas United. I'm your host, Dauda Presley, and it's a pleasure to have you here with us this evening. If you are watching from Keen 17, we welcome you. If you're watching from YouTube, we welcome you just the same. However, if you are watching from YouTube, can you do me a huge favor? Can you go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button? Also, hit that bell so that way when we go live, you get notified. And speaking of going live, I have a special guest with me here this fine evening. If you can help me welcome Pastor Gil Maldonado from Brillo Vegas Church. What's going on, my guy?
What's up, everyone? Brother, friend in Christ.
Man, bro. Yeah, man. How you doing, man?
I'm well. I'm blessed.
Good.
Excited for the new year.
Yes.
That's always a great motivation to set new goals.
Absolutely.
New habits.
And so speaking of new goals, man, you know,
man.
before we get there, right, can you just go ahead and tell the viewers who you are? Because I know who you are, right? We served at the same church. We both served at Brillo Vegas underneath Pastor Moises. We all served there together.
Yes.
However, the people, our viewers, they don't know who you are. So can you let them know who Gil is?
Right. Well, I'm trying to be as casual as I can, right? My name is Gilberto, but my friends call me Gil. If you're watching, you're already a friend. Okay,
Yeah,
so you can call me Gil. And born and raised in Las Vegas. I received Christ about 12 years ago.
Come on, bro.
12 years ago. I've been in the church game for a while, which means I've been serving God in whatever I can. Right, it's been a lifelong thing. It feels like it, right? And so, yeah, I've been in the worship, been a vocalist, did music, and I kind of still do it for a bit. And I started preaching little by little, and then I got a couple privileges to lead a couple communities within the church. Right now I'm at Brillo Vegas. And like you mentioned, right, we were both part of that same ministry at the same time before you were sent out. And it was great to see that in a lot of building together. So I knew you from then, about 3-4 years ago, ballpark, right? But in general, I'm a young guy. I live in Vegas. Don't plan to move out anytime soon. I just feel like there's a big calling, I guess, as a vessel to stay here. And so, but currently I oversee the adults ministry at the church, meaning people from the ages of 18 to 35.
Come on.
Specifically. And I say 35 because there's some 32, 33-year-olds that are young in spirit.
Yeah.
Everyone says that, right? But,
right,
But really, like, millennials and Gen Z are just so alike, but with the technology similarities and all that, you know? And so, that's kind of what I'm doing alongside with me is my wife as well, Litzy Maldonado. She's in the background right here.
Come on now.
Wave, make some noise, say hi. I don't know if they can hear you. But I have the privilege to be married to someone like her.
Yeah.
She's from Phoenix.
Come on.
And I scooped her up from over there, and I brought her over here.
But you traveled a distance. Then you went over the hill and through the desert to go get her.
Literally, over the mountains because there's no mountains over there. And so I had to do all that, literally. And I moved there for a few months. I don't know if you knew that.
I saw it,
3 to 6 months. I forgot how many. But I moved over there with a purpose and plan to be there temporarily, knowing we were going to move over here long term. And so that was the strategy for saying. Her parents always joke about it, like, you just came here to move her out. I'm like, and that's the goal. And we even got married over there as well.
Come on.
And so I was like, you know what, that's the least I can do. Get married in your hometown, Phoenix, Arizona. And but we came over here for many reasons, right? I stayed in Las Vegas because there's a lot to do here. And sure, there's a lot to do in every city, but everyone knows that this city has a stereotype of being full of tremendous amount of sin, being full of a lot of people that need help, and I feel like I'm gonna be part of that wave of people that help it in some way.
Yeah.
And so and she agreed with my vision and a few other visions I have in the city, and she moved over here and trusted me.
Come on,
and
man.
so so marriage is new for us.
Yeah.
We've been married for about a month. No, I'm sorry, a year and 2 months.
Yeah.
And so
Better get it right, man. Better get it right, bro.
Yeah, I have to. I was like, should I side eye her right now? 'Cause what do you mean a month?
She's like, wait a minute, for what are you talking about, 1 month? But it is a great thing, right? Because, you know, especially when our wives are able we're able to do things what the Father's asked us to do alongside of someone we love, we trust, right? It's a beautiful thing, you know, when we're having a hard day, we're able to turn to them, you know, and they're able to really console us during this time. Also, able to speak life and encouragement and even correction at times, right? Because I know my wife,
it happens.
she's like, hey, love, I love you so much. However, you're gonna do that a little better, you know. And the thing is that I need that. We need that, right? You know, we need that in our lives. And so here's the part. Absolutely. You said, hey, you also deal with worship too, man. Tell us a little bit about worship. Yes. You and worship, man.
So I remember when I accepted Christ, it was around the same time I started playing worship. I was 11 years old. So yes, I'm 23.
Come on.
I'm a kid in the city.
Young man.
I'm a young man, exactly, because I'm married now. So I could say that. I have the pass. And so around the same time I accepted Christ, I started playing piano. And I guess, I started playing piano at Pastor Moises' church. I accepted Christ at his church, got baptized at his church. And I did worship for about a good amount of years. Then I moved to a small church. And for some reason, they trusted a 13-year-old to oversee a worship team. So I became the worship director at a small church with 3 40-year-old men.
Come on.
2 teens.
Just a spirit of David.
Interesting.
Yeah, just the spirit of David.
Oh man, David's something else.
Come on, brother. Worship.
But yeah, I don't want to do it though. But at that time, I didn't sing, and so I lead worship currently. But at that time, I was just a piano drummer, etc., piano player, and part of that process was, hey, we don't have a lead singer. We have vocalists, background vocalists, but they would never lead worship, and so they just threw me in, and so I started playing and singing and leading worship at the same time, and that lasted about 2-3 years. Then I went through I became a youth music director at another church as well. Then I kept improving in my instrument skills, I guess, per se. I like to think so. And I guess at around age 19, I think I moved to Pastor Moises' church. Right. Long term with an actual game plan, like knowing, you know what, I want to serve as much as I can. Obviously, with the process, with the trial period, everything. But I then eventually started overseeing the worship team. I was helping in that way because worship was my forte, I guess, compared to any other thing in ministry. Right. And I preached before then, but then I started preaching more. Then little by little, I got ordained as youth pastor.
Yeah,
same day.
Same day, man.
Same day. You got ordained as a young adult pastor.
Adults,
Same day. We were both right next to each other.
Absolutely.
You and I. So that's great. That's special, man.
It is, man.
That's special.
It's always a good thing, man. You know, and the part is like when you're able to pass things on, right? And then just watch the next person just take it much further, right? But before we get there, though, worship. Yeah. You know, because like you said, hey, you know, you accepted Christ, and you're like, man, boom, worship right in. Yeah. What is it about worship that really sets your heart and your spirit that says, you know what, this is something that other individuals, other people, they need to be a part of? Because one thing that I know is, you know, for our church is that worship really sets the hearts, the tone, and the hearts and the minds and the tone of service. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It really begins to cultivate the spiritual realm inside of the church where everybody's there, so that way the word of God is planted in which is a seed, is planted in their hearts, thus causing transformation, right? So what is it about worship for you that's like, hey, I want other individuals to experience this same thing?
I think there's 2 things that come into mind. Number one, worship is literally like 40 to 50% of a service. If a service is meant to be fulfilling and beneficial to a believer, and worship is 40 to 50% of that, that tells me it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge deal.
Absolutely. And the other thing, too, is like when you have a skill or talent, in general, without thinking about the Christian context, in general, when you have a skill or talent, and you work so hard to kind of get better at your skill, and you put all this work in preparation for concerts at school and all that. It hits different when you do it for God. When you do it for church, when you do it for something that actually has a bigger purpose, bigger meaning, etc. And so, I've always been a musician. I think ever since 9. 9 years old. And so 2 years later, I did that, but for God. And so I just realized that it hits different. It's a different realm, playing for an instructor versus playing for the Lord. And it's worth it, and it's fulfilling. And till this day, I don't know what my exit plan will be for worship. I don't know how I'm going to exit that, because it's so fulfilling. And, sure, I oversee the adults ministry and I do all this. And so one will be like, your time is over. But there's no rule for that. God didn't say you have to do one thing. Like, there's no rule for it. So I have to follow God's voice into when I'm going to exit that, right? If I ever do, I'm open. But it's fulfilling. And so I love doing it and I enjoy it. And I feel like it's what God is using me in as well.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting. You said, hey, it's like you never leave that place, right? Because I was like, hey, man, the spirit of David, right? Just David. I just saw that. Well, think about it, man. David is bringing in the Ark of the Covenant finally back to Jerusalem. And what is he doing? Man, he is out there he's giving everything he has in just the worship of God and the praise of God. I love what you said. It never leaves, because it should never leave. Right? We should always be in that place, like you said, where we're consistently and constantly worshiping the Lord. Because why? Because this is, like you said, if it's so much of a service, we know when we get to heaven, oh man, it's going to be just one huge party. It's going to be one huge just worship session. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be one of those deals. It's like all the individuals that had all the talents and the musicians and everything. You guys be just leading the entire thing, right? Yeah. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing.
I could picture it.
Bro, it's just, think about it. It's like, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is. Like, that's the part, bro. Like, we get to say this on a consistent basis. You know what I'm saying? And like, you think, you're like, hey, man, I'm starting here on earth. Yeah. This is where I'm starting. You
don't have to wait until heaven.
Yeah, come on. This is practice. You don't have to. This is practice down here.
You go.
Perfecting the craft.
Absolutely.
Perfecting the craft.
And I wouldn't be surprised if I played worship in heaven.
Come on,
I never know. All these musicians at church, I wouldn't be surprised if we're assigned those roles in heaven. Brother. You don't know what kind of services we have up there. You don't know what kind of people they're going to need and all that. We don't know if we play with the angels. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. And so
we entertain them. We entertain them.
Actually,
Come on, we entertain them. So there could be a huge deal where we are. Listen, Lucifer gave his spot up.
He did.
And we're not going to give our spots up, not to no rocks. The rocks are not going to crowd on our behalf. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? That's what I'm talking about. They ain't going to crowd on our behalf.
I love it. And the thing is, they can. If we let it. Your point is, we won't.
We won't. We ain't going to give it up. We're not going to give it up. Now, here's a part.
Absolutely.
Now that you've now accepted Christ, right? Now you are operating in your talent and your gifting. And you're like, hey, before I go any further, I'm not going to do this by myself. I'm not going to do this by myself. How was it that it was like, man, this is this woman right here. This is the one.
Absolutely.
How'd you come to that place, man?
Well, I was very intentional with the dating period. Super, like, dating apps, all that. Straight up. I promote that. Absolutely. We message people on Facebook and Instagram, so that's even better because that's intentional. And so specifically a Christian dating app, it was called Upward. And for a while, I would have conversations, and I started to seek or try to seek, I guess, the woman that God has for me. And I'm not here to say God said she's going to be from the app. All I'm saying is I'm putting in work in something that I know is godly, which is marriage. Marriage is godly, so I want to try to get there. But I was open-minded towards whether it's going to happen now or when I'm 25, 30. And so, and I was done for a period. I was like, you know what? This isn't working. I'm done. I don't like the app. Too much waste of time. I'm busy. I have stuff to do. I have ministry. I have business. And I'm good. Yeah. So I hold the app on the iPhone as you were about to remove it, basically. So I was about to remove the app, delete it. But I was like, you never know. Let me just click it one more time to see who I matched with.
Wow.
Yeah. Then I swipe a little bit, and boom, get un match.
Wow.
It's kind of a very anxious thought. If I would have just pressed the X, her and I wouldn't have been a thing.
Come on.
At all. And it gives me a little bit of, metaphorically, anxiety to know that what we have now, which is amazing, could have never happened. And so, but because I decided to just go in the app one more time, I matched with her, and and I'm here to say I'm sorry. She texted me first, right? She texted me, put her on blast. She said, hey, or something, and she put a smiley face. I remember. Yeah, she texted me first. I know she says, but you swipe first. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's who texts first is what matters. And so,
who reached out first? That is the one who initiated. Absolutely. I feel you.
And so, she's, and then, but the thing is, I was so fed up with dating that, not to say I was all over the place. Absolutely not. I was doing things right. But I was so fed up with the numbers game that I considered it a numbers game, even when I matched her. So I would just I had, not scripts. Okay, hold up. I had a template in my head. Hey, nice to meet you. Tell me, what are you looking for? ? I would always say that. Because I don't want to, like, reinvent the wheel, and that was my routine. What are you looking for? Because I just want to know straight up, should I waste my time or should I not? And so she didn't like that. I remember her telling me she didn't like that, and so she left me on scene for all of this guy's weird. He's too upfront, like, and I'm like, I'm here for this. I'm like, so I need to ask, what are you looking for? Because some people were looking for different things. One night stands, right? Short-term relationships, and obviously if they're looking for marriage, what kind of marriage, right? And so I asked her, and she didn't like it. Then a couple days later, she replied, and she told me a little bit. Yeah. So I think she got over it.
Say the rest is history. You got the last name now.
The rest is history. Absolutely. And we hit it off, but I only matched with her because I was on a business trip in Phoenix, which is where she's from. Right. With my attorney. And, we matched, and pretty much. Yeah,
no, that's what's going on. No, I feel you, man. The apps and everything, because I know from my wife, I slid into her DMs, like straight up. Like, I'm not even... Yes, I did it. I slid right into my wife's DMs. I am not ashamed of it. We are now going on 10 years, and so I am happy. It's I don't know what that I went there and I was her friend on Instagram. Straight, I am not even ashamed of that.
The wonders of the DMs. Man.
Come on, man.
The wonders. 10 years strong, you said?
Yeah, we're about to be 10 years, man. We're about to be 10 years. Well, in 2025, it'll be 10 years.
That's
you know what I'm saying? And so we're super excited, man. God has done some amazing things, and like you said, marriage is the Lord's idea, right? Yeah. And when we really look at this, we have to understand one thing about marriage, right? Is that marriage is the foundation of every institutional relationship that there is. Interesting. Marriage is the one that sets a foundation for everything else that follows. You think about it for one quick moment, right? You think about just the institution of marriage and how it kind of goes and the roles and everything, right? Yeah. Now you look at a company. The same foundation is there. Marriage is the foundation for every institutional relationship that we can have, and so you think, and the big part is that this is the Lord's idea. Yeah. Now we understand not everybody, is not going to be, is not supposed to be married. Or, the Bible kind of speaks. The Bible the Bible speaks about that, right? But for those that are, what I'm saying, when we find the one. Yeah. How you just hold on, you never let go, and I think that's a word for somebody, man, is that, hold on, don't let go, and allow the Lord to be the center of that marriage, be the center of our lives, right? And so that way, when the Lord does call, you guys do it together, right? And speaking of doing this together, right? So now you guys are married, you guys, I like to say, shaking the bacon, moving and grooving, right? And now, you guys are leading. Yeah. And you guys are now over the young adults at Brillo Vegas. Yes. What does that look like, being a leader, a young adults pastor?
Yeah. So I was overseeing the young adults ministry before I met her. And so, but then when I had to make a move temporarily to Phoenix, it messed with it. Messed with the timeline a little bit. Yeah. There was a break, and I came back. No, but before I came back with her, right, a blessing, our lead pastor was kind of overseeing it a little bit, just to kind of set the way, I guess, and to be open to whether or not it's gonna be the thing we're doing long term. Because when you're married, you're like, you never know if God wants us to do something different. Yeah. And so we were open, but God did lead us towards staying at the church together, making sure it was a good fit for her as well, for her spiritual life, for her situation, and we continued with the young adults ministry, except with her help, and it's very good. It was a slow first year. It was a recovery period, when you stop doing young adults, when you stop doing church stuff for 3, 4, 6 months, it stunts the growth. If anything, you start over. And I don't like the phrase start over. It's used too much in the Hispanic culture. But yeah, we started over. And it's been really good. We've had a lot of great gatherings, great people. Right now, we're still in the building process. And in fact, one of our biggest projects under that ministry is upcoming next month too. So, but we're excited about that. And yeah, man, we're just trying to lead people as much as we can in Las Vegas specifically.
No, understandable. So here's the part: young adults ministry, right? If, let's say that I'm 26 years old, right? And I'm like, you know what? I want to plug in with other individuals that are going after Christ. And really, I want to learn more. If I was 26, what could I expect coming over to Brillo Vegas' young adults ministry?
Absolutely.
What could I expect?
I'm very, I like to be as articulate as I can. So we have a mission statement, which is this. So if anything is going to convince you, it's our mission as a ministry. And it's to build a community, to love God, love all people, and live a biblical life.
Come on.
And I do that because like the main thing is loving God and loving everyone else.
Yes.
The newest 2 commandments, I would say. But then also we're supposed to live a biblical life. We need to stay with biblical standards, and this country sucks at that. This country compromises biblical values too much, and so I don't want to do that. And we're a curious generation, so I kind of have hope for the generation. We ask so many questions. We're confused too, but at the same time we ask. We try to figure it out. And so yeah, it's a mixture of both loving everyone, loving God, but also living up to the essentials of doctrine that is clear, the fundamental doctrines.
Come on, bro.
So if you want to be part of a church that's like that, right, where we teach you to love, which is the main thing, but also to obey Jesus and his commandments, that's the place. Check it out. You never know.
Come on, man. That's so good. That's so good. I love that, man. So with that being said, you know, loving God, you know what I'm saying, and loving all people, right, and living a biblical life. Speaking of biblical life, and you touched on it just a moment ago, is that you have an event that's coming up, or a conference that's coming up in January. I want to talk about that a little bit. What is it?
Sin City Reset is the name of the conference, okay? It's going to be a 2-day conference happening in January 17th and 18th, and it's a conference for young adults, but specifically for Las Vegas, people that live in Las Vegas. And the vision is this. The vision is Las Vegas has a very bad stereotype, being a city full of crap, sin. They think of all the bad things. You think of Vegas, oh, I know what you're doing over there. I'm going to Vegas, oh, I know what you're doing over there. So we want to try to change that as much as we can. For the young adults demographic specifically, because we're the next generation, and what we want to do is through these conferences we're going to do annually, and plus more gatherings, we want to change that stereotype. And so this conference, this 2-day conference, is going to be a conference in which you could go and experience the power of God in a city where it doesn't make sense.
Come on.
And one could be like, yeah, I feel God in this church, in this city, but for some reason people struggle to find a fruitful church or go to fruitful gatherings in Las Vegas. If you have pastor friends and they tell you about their experiences with growing the church in Las Vegas, for some reason it's always a struggle. For some reason it is always hard, and not to say God's presence isn't here, which he is, but people don't know how to connect with God's presence in this city, and just because there's so much temptation. But anyways, this conference is going to be a very, very important, essential conference for people above 18, and it's a 2-day thing. We are selling early bird tickets right now, and if you want to just check out, you know, what it's going to be like, we're selling tickets, and so the link is in the bio of our Instagram page of the conference page, which is Sin City Reset. That is the conference page on Instagram. And so, but in general, we would love for you to come check it out. Enjoy the event with us, but when you come, make sure you come with an open heart, open mind. Let God do what he wants to do with you. And I bet he wants to do big things with you. And so, but this is specifically, I guess, for people that live in Las Vegas. Because a lot of conferences are kind of like, oh, people are coming from here, from here, from here. Now, this is Vegas people, Vegas young people, because the vision is for the city. And I'm not saying I'm going to change the city in one conference, but we want to do this repeatedly. We want to do this on a routine basis, and plus more events. And so we want to do this with a lot of pillars that are going to be pillars of the city, that are going to try to change it at least with the help of God.
Yeah. I love that right there. So when you say pillars, like what would the pillars look like? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because it's like, hey, we hear that phrase a lot, especially in the church community, right? So in regards to the pillars, you're like, hey, there's going to be many pillars. What does the pillars look like for this conference?
Right now, we're in the process of discovering leadership within people in Vegas that have the potential to be vessels of God, to be used to bring people to Jesus, bring people to redemption, bring people to not just salvation, but actual transformation post-salvation.
Come on.
Because a lot of times we focus on salvation, but after salvation, what's the game plan? And most churches don't have a game plan. And so we're just trying to develop leaders within the next 1, 2, 3 years to learn how to do that specifically here. And I'm not against evangelism. Evangelism is great. I know people go to Africa or they go to Europe or they go to Turkey. But I sometimes think, wait, what are we doing here?
In our city.
In our own city.
Yes.
Our own community.
Yes.
But have we done something for this city?
Yeah.
And so that's something that we need to consider. And we're trying to build pillars that are going to be doing that for the long term.
Come on, man. That's really good, man. I love that. I want to give you a moment to talk to the person that's like, well, I'm not sure about going to a community where like this right here. I like following Jesus at my age. You know, it's like it's not the coolest thing to do. Yeah. Right. Well, I want to give you a moment to speak to that person in regards to coming to the Sin City Reset.
Yeah. Well, two things. I'm going to say two things. Number one, if you don't know if you want to come, how about you just talk to the one above? Tell him, hey, give me the conviction that this is something I need. Hey, if you're real, I don't know if you believe in him, but if you're real, show yourself. Speak to me. I want to hear your voice. And lead me towards that event.
Come on.
Put it in me to go. And I promise you, if it's God's will, and if you have an open heart, open mind, you're going to be led to go regardless. You're going to be purchasing a ticket maybe right now or maybe 1 week before or the day before, but you're going to end up going because you're going to know that's the right thing to do. But number two, in general, like, check it out. Honestly, I don't have to be complicated or fancy. Just check it out. It's a 2-day thing. It costs about like 6, 7, 8 Starbucks. I would say 4 at this point, right? 2024.
Right.
And it's not expensive either. Like some conferences cost $200, $300, $400, and we're just charging tickets because there's expenses to it. If all expenses were covered or funded, we would make completely for free. We wouldn't want to have any bottlenecks. But invest in yourself. It's gonna be worth it. And the thing is, if you want to know why to follow Jesus as a young adult, we're gonna be expressing our vision and our mission at the conference. And we're gonna show you exactly what it takes to live a life with Jesus.
Come on, brother.
And so I would say that.
Once again, man, thank you for coming on Las Vegas United, sharing who you are and giving us your story, even much more, giving us the vision for Sin City Reset. And so we will be praying about that also, too. Looking forward to speaking more to you about this very event as well.
Yes.
For our viewers, we want to thank you guys for tuning in on this evening, wherever you are tuning in from. And I pray that right now, that if you hear about this event, if you're watching right now, and you know somebody, whether you have a son, a daughter who is a young adult, maybe a cousin, whatever, the niece, nephew, whatever it looks like, make sure that you have them check out Sin City Reset. It's right up on Instagram. Get the information and send them, because you never know. That it's not just about getting them to church. It's about getting them to the feet of Christ. So that way at his feet, they find themselves transformed. Other than that, we want to thank you guys for coming on and checking us out here on Las Vegas United. We will catch you guys on our next episode.
Our show is hosted by Pastor Dauda Presley from Connection Church LV. To learn more about him and his ministry, please visit myconnectionlv.org. The guest this week is Gilberto Maldonado from Brillo Vegas. For more information, visit instagram.com/Sin City Reset. Thanks for watching our broadcast. Las Vegas United is produced by CTNVegas. For more information about CTNVegas and our show, please visit ctnvegas.com.